Hi, this is Dr. Scott Young, and today we're going to talk about post-NESARA issues. We're going to talk about marketing, but specifically value versus valueless levels of marketing. Coming right up. Now, before you turn me off and think this is not for you, marketing is for everyone because everyone's asking about prices. What's happening in the world is as the fiat currency goes down in value, the prices always go up. When inflation increases because of debt, and inflation increases because a higher use in the currency in essence, and they will call it the asset. No, it's not. The currency and the value, and the debt, we have a massive over increase in inflation, which is a massive overreach and increase of price. And so people are walking around going, I can't afford things. We've seen prices from 2019 to now on an overall basis go up 26%. But that doesn't even tell the real story. The real story isn't just the amount of price. And some of these prices have gone up way more than that. But I'm talking about an overall average. Okay. And I'm not sure I would even accept that exact number, but neither here nor there. The problem with price is that we also have the increase of interest rates. So whether you're buying a car, a home, or something very expensive, a ring, whatever that might be, you're seeing that increase of the finance rates. And so you have price and finance rates going up. And that is one of the most dangerous things in the history of the world. The Great Depression saw a reduce in prices. And guess what? When you had a reduction in prices, even though you had a reduction in people's salaries, okay, that makes sense. And yet we had a massive Great Depression through recession points of the early 70s. And through 2001, we had a recession point. And then we had another level of a recession, 2008, on, for several years there. We call it the Great Recession with that too. None of those are related to what we're dealing with today. And we have to calculate that from 2019 to 2023. And obviously it gets worse in 2024. So price is something we're going to talk about here, but we have to talk about it through marketing because marketing is the through port of all of this. How do you find out the price of something? You have to be able to search it. You have to be able to call it. You have to be able to access it somewhere. And marketing is that key. Now, as we move from a valueless currency, the US dollar has zero value. I don't care if you believe in NESARA or you don't, I'm right on this one. And as the value drops further and further, you can either say we're going into the greatest depression in the history of the world, and that would be correct, times 30. And by the way, that just leads to anarchy, okay? I mean, Trump can't come back in office. No one can do anything in that way because the whole points were to either go toward NESARA or the Great Reset. The Great Reset already died. CBDCs are already dead. So what I'm saying to you in a very short mechanism there is that when we see this flip to the US note that is gold backed, and by the way, 23 states have actually openly stated they're going to go with a gold-backed currency. They're going to recognize it. CBDCs are being deleted from everywhere, including the Fed. There's an abolishment of the Fed going on right now, and CBDCs from the Fed have been deleted through the bills. I tell you what, it's fascinating to watch this whole thing. Now, I want you to change your viewpoint, because when people ask me about pricing, they go, aren't we going back to 1950s pricing? And I'm like, whoever tells you that doesn't understand pricing, or they're using a bad metaphor, or both. That is just not even close to the truth. So I want you to rethink this thing called marketing. Okay? I know I gave a big setup there, but you had to hear it first. Okay? So let's look at this as we go along, because there are different ways that things are priced. When we talk about price, listen to these words. Price is what you pay. Cost is what you expend. And value is what you get. Oh my gosh, you guys need to like memorize that one. Cost is basically the monetary value of the input of the production or the delivery of service. That's what happens to a business, and they got to go, you know what, it costs me this much to actually get there to do your service, or, have people there to accomplish the services, or to buy that product and actually have be able to make a profit off of that. And it's not just talking about gross profit. People always go, yeah, you cost you $1,000. I mean, the price is $1,000. The cost of goods is $500. Well, you got $500 of value, right? And I go, that isn't exactly what they're actually going to take home. They have to pay all of the fees and the services and all the other things that go along with picking up that product, including pay the employees, pay the lights, and pay the rent. Okay, so that person at the top of the organization not getting to take that home. And when we see this issue. So meaning of price is the amount paid for acquiring a product or service. The cost is the amount incurred producing or maintaining that product, and the value is the utility of the good or the service for the customer. And so here's the thing: the monetary measurement can be done in cost and price, but it can't always be done in value. And so this is, I mean, I can have this in here. Basically, it's a real interesting one. You can see in the descriptor, and I'll add those in descriptions. You can kind of read through some of this stuff. It's some real fascinating kind of stuff here with that too, so that you can kind of see what happens. Let's throw you something called BOGO. Now, I want to share with you a little bit about what happens. And first off, marketing has been going through massive changes. We have seen people lose their trust in marketing. And so people are going out there because first off, everything has changed. Now, I've been in business as an audiologist for 34 years. And I used to have, we used to do newspaper articles, right? Or we did direct mail kind of piece, or newspaper advertising. We used to do phone book advertising, right? I'll tell you a real funny phone book story. There's a company called Widx, WIDX, okay? And I remember this is 1997. I was a rep for a hearing aid manufacturer, and one of the guys came by my booth. Now, I'd been around plenty of marketing because I was repping. I was a private practice audiologist. I worked for a manufacturer. I worked for an ear, nose, and throat clinic before I ever became a rep. Okay. And so the guy tells me the story. It's a totally funny story. He does a phone book ad. Now, in 97, there wasn't ways to really always see everything that they did to your ad. See, they would actually build the ad and then it would be uploaded, right? And so the ad people, and he was talking about Widex and Starkey. These are hearing aid manufacturers. And in the ad, instead of saying Widex, WIDX, they said Windex. And the spray, the glass cleaner spray. And so the dude's going, oh my God, you just killed me. So they basically gave him the ad. I mean, so tiny amount for this huge phone book ad, but he said it was the best selling ad I'd ever had. I had people call up, I want those Windex hearing aids. I really want to be clean. And it was just hysterical. And I never have called that hearing aid manufacturer anything but Windex because of that kind of stuff. But over the years, now what we have is this transformation into all these online places, and they have affected how people do it. Now, all these apps and all these other ways that you can find out about this. So that is some of the point. Now, in BOGO marketing, they set the price as a draw. It brings you in. So when you're brought in like this way. So let me pull this off the screen here. So you're brought in, for instance, in 5 different ways. BOGO means buy one, get one free. But it also extends to a couple of other different ways that they do this, right? So 5 types of ones that have to buy one, get one half off, right? And whether it's a book, right? Buy one, get one half off. I was joking the other day. I was buying some socks, some business socks, and I'm like, and it said some BOGO statement there. And we were joking because we couldn't even figure out, like, buy one and just go ahead and grab it. I mean, they didn't explain it at JCPenney, well, like what the heck that was, right? And that's kind of how the circumstance. The second one is buy one from category A, but you get category B over here. So for instance, and the easiest way to say is buy one loaf of bread and you get milk for free. And I'm just using a very straightforward kind of statement. Buy one and get free samples, right? So you buy like a hair product and you get free samples of other things. Okay. Buy 3 for the price of 2. So they're bundling in those different products, right? So you have, 3 products, but you really only have to pay 2 for 2 of them. And those are really more of a draw. Buy X item and get percentage off, maybe half off of, 40% off of glasses or whatever that might be. So what happens is these are products that draw you in, but they hope, one thing I want you to realize, they hope you're dumb. Do you understand what I just said? They hope you're dumb. They hope that you do this. Now, normally good BOGO marketing actually says, hey, you know what? We are going to discount this product. Good BOGO marketing is discount the product. So come in and buy bread. But you know what? We don't care if you buy one, get one free for bread because we want you to buy a whole bunch of other things, right? In our grocery store. That's decent marketing, at least. And it's a draw. But it's called a loss leader. So you basically are writing off what you lose in that second loaf of bread so that they can actually get you to buy a whole snot load of other things. So it's a type of marketing system, but it is actually hoping that you're stupid. And it plays upon that. Because what it does is it creates the absence of value. Because all you're focused on is price, the price. And I see people in my industry, I see people in other industries, all they focus on is what's the price. And so they go around to the best place in there. And I've seen this, for instance, in there's these homeschool conferences. And the thing that happens in the homeschool conferences and the people with the homeschool conference, people that go to it, is a lot of times they don't have a lot of money. But on top of that, they're so price conscious that, the book over here is $10, and they will argue that the book down the way is $9. And all they do is go to the cheapest one, so that you have a bidding war that goes on here. And so there's a difficulty that can happen in places like that. And because it's all built upon the price. So there's no value that the person comes into it. And this is the danger of the systems. Because what it also does, let me pull this off the screen, it creates no trust. You have zero trust. So now we've just said BOGO type of marketing, right, is perfect for a fiat system. BOGO has no value, just like the fiat system has no value. The currency has no value, so we might as well just work off a price or discounts. And see, people go for discounts all the time. They go discounts off of MSRP. Now, what do we say with MSRP? Manufacturer's suggested retail price. And so I see people getting hook, line, and sinker to the MSRP of a product. And I go, so if the MSRP on the product, whatever that might be, is $50, make up a number that you want to have. $50, is that really what they're selling it for? Or they say, we're 20% off of MSRP. And we see this with the car industry, does it all the time. I mean, anyone who sells something at MSRP is actually overcharging. Did you understand what I just said? Selling at MSRP is overcharging. We saw this in 2020, 2021. Cars were being sold at MSRP, or more likely, they were sold at $20,000 over MSRP. So you bought a car I bought a truck that, was the MSRP was $70,000. They were buying it for $90,000. They drive off the lot. As soon as they drive off the lot, the thing's worth maybe $55,000. Two years later, that truck is maybe $35,000. And they're so far underneath with a $90,000 truck that they barely have paid down. And see, sometimes when they did these $90,000 trucks, they were putting it out 7, 8, 9, 10, or 10-year loans. 10-year loans for a car, you're going, what? Right? It's because you were drawn and you have no trust. Do you see why this kind of marketing is a sick system? And we're seeing the death of it because there is no trust. If I just trust in the price, then I'm looking for the cheapest thing out there. And when I look for the cheapest thing out there, and as a business, I've been running this way before I even knew anything about NESARA, because I don't want price people. Did you understand what I just said? I used to work for a company, I won't even say the name, but it's a price named type of company. And here's what happened. We had the repair price for these hearing aids. So there's repairs that can come on. And before I ever showed up, the repair price used to be $95 and it went up to, or $75, excuse me, and it went up to $105. Okay, I think that was about the number. And I would see these people and they were screaming at me that it was used to be $105 and then 6 months ago it was $75. But they're out there driving a Mercedes-Benz that is a $100,000 car and you're bugging me about a $75 charge. Now, I'm not talking about people who don't have any money. See, I will have more compassion and I will do a lot of things for people who don't have money. Don't have it. But we're talking about price people. They will beat you like a bloody pulp because that's all they care about. They have no value in you. They have no value in the systems. And there's a zero trust kind of basis. Those types of things are dying because the systems of the valueless currency is dying. I know I kind of spent a lot of time on that, but we're going to talk a lot more about that. Let's move on to costs versus service models. So let me kind of bring this up on the screen. I'm going to pull this off here, okay? But let me show you kind of what happens here, okay? When you have cost of services versus cost of goods, now you've heard me talk on this one before, is you've got to have the cost of goods because I got to buy it from the manufacturer, and so I have to have a markup on that. The problem with most people, and I'm talking about most business people, they have no idea how to mark this stuff up. Now, if you're talking about low cost items, okay, low priced items, meaning, less than $50, let's just say, you can do a percentage base type of pricing. And a lot of people do this. Now, what happens with low price items, if your whole store did low priced items, like my book over here, it's $10, right? If your whole store was based upon those kinds of things, you can do it off a percentage basis. You have low prices, right? Because that's what the whole store is about. We're not just talking pure price, okay? We're just talking about what everything costs in the store. It's low prices, but you need to have a bunch of volume in that thing. So low price, high volume, or many people per day. But we have other types of models, and in audiology, we have the same thing. We have expensive costs and low volume. Now, then there's the weirdest one in the history of the world when they came out with the iPhone. We're talking about incredibly high costs that never had been there before. I mean, cell phones used to cost $20, and then they were suddenly $500. Now they're $1,000, right? But they had massive amounts of volume with it too. So you have high prices and high volume of things. Well, then they hit the mother load in that way. Okay. So how most people try to do this kind of stuff is they have the direct costs, and they've got to figure those things out with that too. So when you have cost of goods sold, you have an opening inventory, purchases of the production costs minus the closing inventory. So they come up with a kind of system to figure that out. Whereas services are just the sum of all direct the costs, which means are all the lights and the employees and everything else. So it's easier to do the calculation here in some ways, but see, some people get this wrong. Okay, so that's just the basic point that we have out there. But I want to show you a value-based system as we transfer into this one. How do you deliver value? And why am I talking about this? Because when we have a powerfully valuable currency, now some people would say, now right now, gold, is $2,400 an ounce. Some people predict, I'm one of them, that predicts gold will be set by the Treasury at $5,000. But there is a guy who's talking $10,000 to $27,000. And this is an economist. I'm not talking about some of the truthers who are saying $100,000 for the price of gold. I'm just going to talk about just pure economists are going $10,000 to $27,000 for the price of gold. Well, that makes incredibly valuable thing in your pockets, okay? Versus you have a valueless system. So when you have an incredibly valuable product and people are focused on the changeover with this and they have no trust in anyone, right? We get into this kinds of conversation. So when we look at this, one of the things that people start looking at is prospecting with value. They've got to create and discover values, how to do it meaningfully, which means the content. He's talking about using value to deliver more meaningful content. Like, this is one of the coolest concepts that is out there, and no one understands it. Because guess who gets this? Small business owners, because they've been competing. So you cannot compete with the big box companies. You can't, if you sell computers, you can't compete with Best Buy on price. So you have to compete with value. If you are a shoe store, a private shoe store, you can't compete with price on Amazon or pick the other place, but you have to compete with value. And you see, the small businesses are going to win because all of those big corporations, or at least most all of those corporations, have actually had crimes against humanity. And when they have crimes against humanity, the systems of them are coming down. When we look at this, another way of looking at this is a really interesting article here. How do customers look for value in their marketing? the familiar value systems that they've instinctively aligned themselves based upon their own experiences. They have looking for authentic positions in the business, right? Now, some companies do this and they create a core value in here. They look at their target audience and try to find strategies to create the value. And so what happens is they boost their systems, their social media, and it happens through social media in this way. Okay. So they give strong storytelling to build up their narrative so that they can explain what they do. Now, I want to share this with you now. I don't really want to get too far into this little conversation in this delivering value thing. But do you know that the left is doing this for a very long time? There's something called ESG. And ESG, basically, without really getting too deep into it, is that the systems of the World Health Organization, the World Trade Organizations, what they are is the sickle cabal. And they push out there, if you will have ESG, which means like diversity and inclusion and all these other terminologies, right? And so if you will hire people in that kind of way, then you have access to the WHO or the WTO or any one of these other, global organizations, because they wouldn't be able to trade with those different ones. They can't buy their products from the places that they want to buy their products from. And so they have to like adhere to these ridiculous sicko type of systems. But Governor Stitt just the other day, and I'm going to show you this one, is really fascinating here. And I have not talked about this with Mark Z, but it is such a powerful point here that you might want to see here. And in here, let me pull it up here. I'll bring it up here on the screen. Did you know that Oklahoma, with Governor Stitt, just basically defended the state's anti-ESG law? We're not going to let companies come into Oklahoma and attack our oil and gas industry. Holy cow. They come in there and they basically say, you know what? We're not doing this anymore. We're not playing your games where you have social and governance policies that, alienate the interest of the company. And he's talking about oil and gas, but you get the idea, because they've been doing this all the way through. So what's going to happen is that you need to start, if you are a business owner, you need to start setting up your business in creating who you are. You need to rethink every single thing based upon value. How do I value the person that comes in the door? How do I value the people that would shop with you or look with your business? How do I value them? And we have had people, we have our employees who haven't valued the person that comes in the door. And you talk on the phone and you're talking to people on the phone. And we just went through my father-in-law who passed away. And do you know how many times I got treated like crap when we're just trying to cancel an electricity bill? I mean, the systems of the world hate your guts. And so when they do this kind of stuff at a bank that I'm going to talk about later on, but as they screw with you, they piss you off with it too. And so they have no ability to do this, because what they're doing is looking at their own interests and not their consumers' interests. And what you need to start thinking about is, how do consumers find you? You see, most people haven't been thinking about that. Now, if you're the consumer yourself, you're going, none of this stuff had any meaning to me. And I'm going, you're going to be thinking about this all the time, because as prices change around you, you're going to have to change your whole concept of this. We have talked about, for instance, values that are overvalued. Okay, so let me put it this way, or products that are overvalued. What might that be? Student loans, or basically what it costs to go to college. Insurances have been overcharged to the consumer because they've been utilizing government kind of agencies. You have to have this and you better charge. Like, do you know that my short-term health insurance because of Obamacare is being canceled in September? That's what they're doing. And so I have to go on the marketplace and gonna have to spend a lot more because they don't want to give me the lower cost, even though they go, well, that's illegal. I'm going, I liked it. It did nothing wrong to me, and I appreciated what they did because it was at a lower cost. You see, that's what they want to do because they want to force you with that way. That whole system is dying. And so you have to look at this and you're going to see costs or houses and they're going to go down. And then you're going to say, I don't even know how to price a house because what's called comps or comparables is going to change dramatically for people. And so it's going to cause confusion for the consumer. And it's also going to cause confusion for the business owner. And that kind of stuff is going to mess with people. So you need to think, how do you deliver your message of value? How do you set up your business for that value? And how do consumers find you? And on the other side of this, you need to say, wait a second, I'm going to look for businesses who create value. And by the way, I do that with my YouTube channel. Did you know that I don't charge? I mean, I don't take money in from other marketing sources. Now, YouTube does a little thing with that too. I don't have any control over that. But, I don't ask you for money. And so what I'm trying to do is create value for you. And you're going, but how is it good for you? And people call me a grifter. I'm going, listen, I'm not asking for any money. So how can it be a grifter? Do you even know what a grifter does? A grifter takes money from you and they don't create a value back to you. That's a grifter, okay? I've never grifted in my entire life. There's nothing that I do here because I've never asked you to send me your money. Now, people can donate to my website at drscottyoung.com, but they don't have to. They can download a snot load of things, but they don't have to. And they can do it for free. So what happens is I'm trying to show you how to do this. Now, I'm not talking about giving away everything that you ever have. We need to create the value so that there's a trust relationship in here. And that's how marketing is going to change. You're not going to see ads that go, buy one, get one free, or any of this other stupid stuff. You're going to see value. Value, because the currency is valuable. Hope that helps you out. Subscribe. It really helps me out too. Thanks so much.